Never seen a lame man walk, never heard a dumb man talk, never seen a blind man see. I promise you will change his name. Never seen a canceled debt, never seen all the poor get fed, never seen a prisoner set free. I promise you will change his name. Broken heart made whole. Never seen an orphan find a home. Never seen the weak find the strength. I promise you will change his name. Never seen the sick get healed. Never seen a mystery revealed. Never seen a death man raised. I promise you will change his name.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Big C and Bigger T podcast. I'm coming to you from a remote location today because I live in Camden, Arkansas, and we had a little storm damage this week, Clint, and only lost power for a little while, but lost internet for probably the rest of my life. So first world problems, you know.
Yeah.
Clint, how you doing this week, man?
Man, I am fantastic, better than I deserve for sure. Was on vacation last week, had a lovely vacation, and we'll get a little bit more on some of the events of my vacation in a minute. But so man, I'm just fantastic. How about you? Other than, you know, being pretty much a refugee in Canada.
That's right, yeah.
How are you?
It's a hard knock life, dude. I know what Jay-Z feels like now. You know, living without internet, I can't stream, you know, shows, and I missed American Idol Sunday night. I mean, come on.
It's a shame that that people can't see, or no, it's not a shame because we don't want them to see what we talk about on Marco Polo.
Yeah.
But he had a big argument about which one was better, the voice of the American Idol, because Travis is a American Idol guy.
All the way.
And I would leave my wife for Blake Shelton, and I'm not even ashamed of it.
That's disturbing.
It is. It's a little disturbing. Anyway,
well, hey man, we're here. We need to talk. You know, we had a great podcast last week talking.
Loved it.
Man, one of our favorite. Both of us. I hope everybody enjoyed that watched it. That meant a lot to us. It meant a lot to us to be able to say thank you to him because he, you know, hopefully that came across. I know he said it, but he did make a big impact on our lives. And so, and we got to say that for a couple of our other buddies, for Wesley and Robert. I know they felt the same way. And so, and the other tons of kids that he's coached through the years. But I love just talking football with him, man. That was great. But man, we got a bunch of Razorback stuff to cover. So we're going to cover, man, today we're going to talk baseball, we're going to talk basketball, we're going to talk football because there's news in all three of them.
Big news.
Here's the deal. You may not tell by looking at me, but I'm not necessarily built for baseball. Now, I love baseball. I love watching it, but it's not necessarily my expertise. Okay. And now you are about the same way as I am. You've watched a little, you know, you got to go up and watch them play the other day. So you're going to be able to bring more to this conversation than I am today. But like in many things in life, sometimes, Clint, you need to know a guy.
Got to phone a friend, as they do on.
Phone a friend. And so I know a guy, and I wanted to get him on here because he loves baseball and loves Razorback baseball. So Bo Morgan of Baseball Man. How you doing today, Bo?
Oh, we're doing real good. How about y'all?
We're doing good. We're ready to talk some Razorback baseball. Now, Clint got to go up last week. He took some vacation time, and you got to see him play Euler, right?
Did. I had.
Saw Little Rock.
Yes. I think they just talk about Little Rock now.
About Little Rock. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
But Clint, tell us kind of what you saw while you were up there, and then kind of bring Bo into
Man, and I did also I did watch him last night too on ESPN Plus play University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, which if y'all guys and I am no way a paid sponsor for the dozens and dozens of people that listen to this podcast, but if you don't have ESPN Plus, get ESPN Plus because I've watched every Razorback baseball game there is.
That's right.
ESPN Plus, and it is in the midweeks games, they don't exactly send out their frontline guys, even though it seemed like they had their actual starting lineup again against Little Rock. But it may be because they played Little Rock last year and they got run ruled 17-7. So they're like, okay.
Right.
They started Cole Ramage, who looked good for 4 innings. And then he got in a little trouble. And then they had to go to the bullpen. But man, the power of this team, I mean, they can hit. Go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm glad to see them. They're getting a little bit more, putting the balls in the gaps and getting runs that way. Early in the season, they pretty much lived and died by the home run. If they had a game where they wasn't hitting home runs, then we probably lost the ball game.
Right.
I did like that. We've seen them, especially against Ole Miss, which obviously that game was a very wild one. At one point in time, we have a huge lead and then give it all up. And I think what was the final score ended up being like 18-14 or something. There was a lot of good base hits in that, not just the home run.
Yeah. It's just the kicker missed all the extra points for Arkansas. So
right.
Just had Alex Nahada. No, you're right about the power. I mean, they showed. I think Christian Franklin passed Caden Wallace for the lead in home runs. He had I think it was a 3-run dinger last night against Pine Bluff.
Was he a triple away from the cycle last night?
Well, I didn't. I turned it on a little late, but
yeah, I did. I did miss last night's game. We were my son Mason. They were traveling to Monticello to go play baseball, so I didn't get to see a lot of that game last night. Listened to a little bit of it, but I think that put Christian Franklin at
8 home runs.
I think I put him at 9. That's what put him past Wallace. Tied at 8, and that put him at 9.
And Wallace has 8. Now, I was going to ask you this question, Bo, and I know we kind of discussed a few things before the podcast. What are your thoughts on these midweek games? And one thing Arkansas has done good this year is playing the other in-state teams. But I'm looking at it from, Christian Franklin's perspective, even Dave Van Horn's, Jalen Battles, and I can't Battles, Nesbitt, any of the starters.
Right.
So you played number 1 Mississippi State a few weeks ago. Then you turn around that weekend, and that middle week you played Little Rock. This week you played number 3 Ole Miss, win the series, and then you turn around and you play a 2-19 WAC team. I mean, it just, to me, it's like, yeah, I get it. It's a good time to get these guys experience because, like, Caden Wallace didn't play last night. He's leading the team in home runs.
Right.
And they kept other starters out. What are your thoughts on these midweek games? Is it just important? How much value should we put in those?
I like it from the standpoint of getting guys at bats that are not normally, like take your Jacob Nesbitt, who's really probably hands down the best third baseman in NCAA baseball. And he just struggles at the plate. He can't hit. So therefore he's not in the lineup a lot. And that it hadn't, been just too bad on us this year, but it's cost us a few times defensively in some games that we've lost that he wasn't in the ball game just with what he's able to do. So I think it helps in that, some of these young guys that hadn't got to play a lot of ball, Battle, you name Battles. He's one that has showed, big time power with that home run in Louisiana Tech when he hit it, what was it? Well over 400 feet up into those apartments. We'd really like to see him get hot and show off that power a little bit more. And as far as your pitching go, you named off Ramage, which he's struggled a little bit. So it was good to see him come out and do pretty good for a few innings because he's somebody we were really going to need to get hot getting into the postseason. And that's one of my worries is our bullpen hadn't really been bad, but our starters have been very inconsistent. You may have Lockhart go out there and throw 6 or 7 innings one weekend and he's bumped out after 2 the next weekend. So I think it's good to get those guys a lot of innings and get them ready to go, because that's my concern on the postseason. So as far as the midweek games, I like it that this will give them some confidence. This lets them get up there and throw some good pitches, get some good at bats, get the feel. That's all it's about, is getting that feel for what you need to do.
Yeah. And in the game last night, they pitched a kid, a guy they signed, and you may know his name, Bo. I'm brain farting on it. They pitched a kid he was from Watson Chapel, so Pine Bluff guy, playing in his 4th game of the year. And his first batter he faced was a high school teammate.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it was good that he got that experience, and you could tell the kid was just so pumped up. He looked like Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn out there for a minute.
That's the cool thing about the in-state game.
They're so close. But the kid had a great curveball. I mean, he had one that dropped 12-6. I mean, it was a beautiful, but he struggled a little bit with the consistency, but he was one of them guys, like I said, he pitched in 4 games all year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
going back to the starting pitching, how do you feel about the guys we have that are the frontline starters? Can they come around and be and be the guys that can win that first, that Friday night game, or first game of a series for you? I mean, there's a pattern now that you're seeing, especially, in the major leagues, where this pitching by committee,
right,
kind of reversing your pitching order, bringing in the, like a closer type at the beginning and people are trying all kinds of different things, but man, I'm sort of old school. I mean, you need that guy that can go out and just get you, 7 innings of strong ball,
right?
Just to get you going.
Yeah, I'm like you. I grew up in that era with Greg Maddux. I'm a big Braves fan. Hope that don't offend anybody out there. But I grew up in that era with Maddux and Glavine and Smoltz. And, and during that whole, not just them 3, but that whole era, it was nothing for a guy to go out there and pitch a complete game. Yeah. And you just don't see that anymore. And I've kind of seen that a little bit with Arkansas this year. They're more pitching by committee. And I'm not real sure if it's just because they just don't have that guy that can go stand up there every inning like you had with Blaine Knight a couple years ago. Yeah. That could just stand up there and throw 8 or 9 innings and then bring your closer in and finish it out.
Yeah.
To me, Wicklander's probably the closest to being that guy. Vermillion's good, but he's always been a little inconsistent. So I don't know that he has that ability to be able just to go in there and that, sure enough, when you start postseason, hey, this is fixing to be my Friday night guy for that super regional that we're going to run with.
Well, I mean, to be an ideal game, man, you get that starter, you get him in there, you bring in a setup guy for about the 8th inning,
right?
And then you bring in your closer for the 9th, and you just close the door on them. And those are the games that you feel good. I mean, if it can be close going into that final inning, but you feel good about it because you've got there with just 3 pitchers.
Yeah.
And also you've got there with just 3 pitchers, knowing you're going to face another good, face them the next night of the series,
Right. Yeah. I read some, comments and things talking about the doubleheader against Ole Miss. How we went out there the first game and, won that game pretty good. And then the next game you turn around and it was almost like a midweek lineup. You didn't have Goodhart in the lineup. Slavens was gone. A lot of those guys were out. You had a few of the guys that were struggling. He left Moore in to get up there and get some at bats, and we ended up getting beat. And there was some, comments like, "I can't believe we give that game up." Yeah. It was almost to me like Van Horn. Basically he was playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers. He knew Ole Miss had to put their best 9 on the field to beat us that second game. So why not rest those guys? All your starters. And I mean, we come out and jump to 11-0 lead, which is a good thing we did, because if not, we would have got beat. Yeah. So I think he was he was very good in that move not to waste all his players.
I mean, how good is Dave Van Horn?
Oh yeah, I mean he's he's number 8 in the NCAA right now in wins at like 1,071. You know, and definitely one of the top guys. He's had, I think 20 postseason. Yeah, I got 20 postseason appearances, been in the College World Series 8 times, one time going all the way to the finals, which I'll tell you this, I finally watched the replay of the foul ball the other day for the first time since it happened. And it hurt just as bad. Hurt just as bad.
Man, that was my birthday, believe it or not. And then somebody posted on my timeline, "Hey Clint, I hope your birthday went exactly as you wanted."
Oh,
you're quiet. Now, one of the questions, if you every time that, and Dave Van Horn is he's to the point, I think, of Nick Saban, where if you have a son, no matter what state they live in, that's going to play baseball. If the kid plays football, Nick Saban says, "Hey, I want to come talk to you about your son playing football." You have to listen to Nick Saban.
Oh yeah.
You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your kid to let him listen to Nick Saban. And I think Dave Van Horn's about the same way. And so he's one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the country. I mean, when's the last time you heard about Nebraska baseball since Van Horn left?
Yeah, exactly.
Haven't. So if you go, whenever they announce the pitching rotation, if you go into the comments section, you're always going to see this question at least 5 times. What about Connor Noland? What's going on with Connor? Have you heard anything? You know, is struggling? I'm sure there's something in practice that Van Horn's seeing that
right.
maybe we just don't get, because he was their Friday starter last year.
Yeah, he's actually out right now with a forearm. They just called it a forearm injury.
Okay.
That's the only thing I've seen, because I was like you, I wondered coming into this. I'm like, where in the world is Connor Noland at? You know, and he comes in that first or second weekend, I can't remember. Maybe he comes in. I think it was the first weekend, that tournament in Texas. Comes in for a starter that's struggling in the second inning. He throws like 4 or 5 innings of one-hit ball. I mean, I'm like, okay, he's working his way back up. And then the next couple of times he got in the ball game after that, he, just really struggled. And then you didn't see him for a few. And I finally read somewhere that he was probably going to be benched for the rest of the season because of a forearm. So I don't know if that's what led to him not performing as well leading up to the season. You know, I really hadn't heard a lot on him. They're being very, very, very quiet with him.
And, you got to be careful with pitchers, especially because I was looking at ESPN Plus. Once again, I was reading an article and they talked about the top aces in baseball.
Yeah.
And they had this guy, 32, Tommy John surgery, 2015, And so all the top guys, I mean, like literally well over half the top 10 that they had ranked had Tommy John surgery.
Right.
All that torque them guys put on their arms and stuff like that. I don't even play golf anymore because I don't like bending my delicate body.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much in the SEC now, I mean, if you're not throwing 90 plus, unless you've just got some Greg Maddux stuff, you're probably not going to be on the mound a whole lot as a starter.
Now, Bo, before we let you go, man, there's one player, we've already mentioned his name. You've mentioned his name, but, I grew up a product of the mean streets of Worcester.
Streets are very mean.
The streets they're
I've
very
heard
mean.
tales.
Yeah, I mean, you're hanging out at the car wash on Friday night, man. You're a ruffian.
Lit.
Well, and to be honest with you, I don't know if there's been a better athlete come out of there since I came out of there. Anyway,
I'm surprised your name's not on the Worcester sign.
It should be. It should be.
I'm going to go spray paint. Podcast is over.
Clint always told me that I'll run for mayor of Worcester someday.
There you go.
But Caden Wallace grew up in Worcester. And so I've been watching him and hearing what he's doing. and really proud of him. I've known his dad, known his mom, and his grandparents, went to church with them. And so he's I love seeing what he's doing up there. Talk about him for a minute.
Yeah, he is a very solid player. You know, that's one thing they mentioned the very first weekend. They said he come up as a third baseman, but his bat was so good that he ended up playing right field because DVH was like, hey, you know, I got to have this kid in the lineup, and I need him. He's such an athlete. We're going to put him in right field and let him learn that position. So he's really been learning it as the season goes, and that just shows you what kind of athlete he is because he's not made, I don't think made any errors out there. I won't say he's like 1,000% on his, fielding.
And I will tell you, because he had a couple hard balls hit to him when I was there, and he's got a cannon.
Oh yeah, as you can say, he's got a cannon. You're not going to run on him. I want to say he's got 3 assists on the year throwing people out. So yeah, he's a very, this week he was the co-freshman of the week after the big home run in that third game of Ole Miss series. You know, he really come on and is hitting the ball. You know, they moved him. He started out, I think, 7th in the lineup. Now he's 4th. You know, if you're batting 4-hole in the SEC
as a freshman,
as a freshman, you know, it's, I think it'd be hard for Pujols to be batting 4 in the SEC, honestly. So.
Yeah, he, his dad played for UCA when they won the national championship in 88, 89, around that time. I think he was the quarterback for him. I may be wrong there, but I know he played for him. And so he comes about it naturally. He's got a brother who plays at Wichita State or played up there.
Okay.
So Greenbrier folks, proud of him.
Yeah.
And,
hey, I do have one trivia question for you guys. That
lay it on us.
Not baseball related.
All right.
All right. Do you know the Worcester native who will be participating in the Olympics this year in Tokyo?
Yeah, it's actually Caden Wallace's first cousin.
Your kid.
Browning. Her last name's Browning. I forget her first name. Yeah, that's
I didn't have a clue, but no one does less research than I do.
her dad and Caden's mom are brother and sister.
Okay, well that doesn't surprise me then. You know, that was actually something I just seen on the news this morning. They were talking about the Olympics coming up, and they said we have a Worcester native that will be. You know, they didn't even say Greenbrier Conway. You know, they gave all the credit to Worcester.
And that's what Caden, he needs a nickname, like the Rooster from Worcester. That was what one of my old buddies used to call me, but the Rooster from Worcester, something. Then he needs a Worcester nickname.
The Shady Grove Slugger? I don't know.
That's right, yeah. Shawbridge Slugger. Yeah, the road he lives down, Shawbridge, or the way his family lives down. I'm not for sure where his house is, but
right.
Well, Bo, man, we appreciate you coming on here. You helped us look a lot smarter, and we appreciate it. Of course, that doesn't take a lot. We got Bob Ross and
Price is Right.
Price is Right over there. So, but anyway, appreciate you, Bo, and you have a good day, man.
All right, yeah. Hey, I appreciate y'all having me on and enjoy.
Hey, and by the way, let's shout out Mason Morgan and the Camden Harmony Grove Hornets. What's their rank right now?
Right now, they are ranked 5th in the state.
Bo's son plays second base for them, right?
Yep, freshman playing second base.
Gets to pitch a little bit, some, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's closed a few games.
Good.
So proud of him representing. Mason's he'll be a future Hog someday. We'll be talking about him on here.
There you go.
All right. See you, Bo. Thanks, man.
All right. See y'all.
Clint, that was good. We're got a little baseball talk in. Now let's talk a little basketball real quick. Okay, I know we've gone over kind of what we wanted time wise, but the big things has been the transfer portal. The Hogs have signed. I'm not even going to try on these names. I do Tony from Pitt, Chris Likes from Miami, and Stanley Umad something from South Dakota. Okay. These guys, Umade and Tony, are both about 6'6". And then Chris Likes is 5'7".
Yes.
But Likes is a powder keg, man. Watching
You know,
his highlights, he is everywhere. Lots of energy.
and I think they all realize that, you know, number one, they know Eric Musselman's not scared to use guys from the transfer portal. He was that way at Nevada. He's that way in Arkansas. And basically he knew that he had production that he's got to find for. And unfortunately, I don't think there's while he signed a 4 to 3-star out of high school that are both good players, there's not a Moses Moody there. I mean, they're just not.
No.
And so
I do think Chance Moore and Akoi Maween are the two freshmen that are coming in. Maween is 6'10".
Yeah.
And now he only weighs 205. He can help as far as down low. He can help replace Justin Smith. I don't think any of these guys are going to replace Justin Smith by themselves.
No.
Now, I'll tell you someone we forget about is Johnson, the transfer from Little Rock.
Right.
He's 6'7". He doesn't play above the rim like Smith did. They say he plays a little more below the rim, but they say he's a powerful guy, a high motor guy. So between Mowen and Johnson, I think you're going to replace a little, and Williams
When Arkansas was really good last year in the NCAA tournament, when they had to have a run, they would move Justin Smith to the 5. They'd move him to center, and they played 4 smaller guys.
And Moses Moody was your power forward.
Yeah, they would play Note, Jalen Tate, Devo, and Moses. They would play them. So literally the only thing is, so you're going to have one of them 6'6" guys that can replace Jalen Tate. You're going to have that 5'7" point guard spark plug. And so you're going to have that, and then you can pretty much play Jalen Williams at a big. I think we saw a lot of polls that has us like ranked 12 to 7, somewhere in there. Yeah. So they're getting that respect, and it looks like if they haven't already signed a new long-term contract, Musselman and Juracek are very close.
Yeah.
And I just think is one of them deals where Danielle Musselman loves it here. I think Eric Musselman loves it here. And I think with just the talent we have in Arkansas alone for the next few years, he's going to be, I mean, he's in a very, very, very good spot.
The more I hear about this kid from South Dakota,
big time scorer.
Umade, he was the second leading scorer in the country next to the guy from Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had his biggest games against their best teams they played. So like when they played high D1 teams, he had his best games. So that's big to me, that he's showing up. And he's also the type that they say he can go down and post up, or he can shoot outside. So he's kind of versatile there. The big thing is he going to buy into playing? Does he play defense the way Muss wants him to? Because if you don't play defense the way Muss wants you to, you don't get on the court.
No. And that's what I love about Musselman is he doesn't. And, I never was a fan of Mike Anderson. I think Mike Anderson emphasized defense and didn't emphasize offense at all. But that's an old Nolan thing, and that's the tree he grew up under, where Nolan was like, I'm going to let my defense create the offense. I really didn't feel like Anderson had the offense. Number one, I didn't feel like Anderson made adjustments. I didn't. But Roy Williams is probably one of the top 10 coaches of all time, and people will tell you Roy Williams' coaching is done before tip-off. He don't really make a lot of adjustments. And I always feel, I've said before, I'm like, the next in-game adjustment Mike Anderson makes will be his first. Yeah. But, and I think Musselman's just so much better. Like, okay, this isn't working. Let's do this. And it's not just personnel. It's changing offensive sets and things like that.
Well, there's so much more on basketball we could talk about. Of course, Moody left. We knew that was coming. Okay. No surprise there. He's going to the NBA, which we rooted for him to do well there. I do want to say that the Light kid, just one thing to remember, one of the reasons we got him was not just Musselman, was we have Earl Boykins on our staff. And Light was not getting good results when he was looked into the NBA at being so small. And he really sees a chance to be coached under Boykin, because Boykin was a small point guard that made it to the NBA. He thinks Boykin will help him get ready to go to the NBA. And so that's where having good assistants really helps. But anyway, so we got that, right? But now, you know, I mean, we also have spring football going on, okay? It's stretched out forever here.
Right.
We have the red-white game coming up Saturday. What are you looking for? What do you want to see in this red-white game?
And I think there's a couple of things I want to look at. Number one is everything I've seen in the scrimmages. I think KJ Jefferson has all but solidified himself as QB1. I think it's just a matter of time before they're like, look, KJ's our guy. I think KJ's taking this opportunity to say KJ's our guy. Does KJ play well enough that everybody's like, KJ's the guy? The other thing I want to see, I really think, because a lot of people thought the big thing was going to be who wins the QB1 job. I'm now, what I focused is who's going to be QB2. Is because I've really seen, as I'm looking at stats, I have not watched practice. I do plan on watching the spring game and watching the entire thing. Of course, I'm really interested in how the line plays. I'm interested to see the depth, because you'll see a lot more of the young guys, because when you play an all SEC schedule like we did last year, you're pretty much going to see our frontline guys, and you didn't get to see the depth because we didn't play one of these, a directional Mississippi school, a directional Louisiana school. So you didn't get to see the depth. But I'm looking forward to that. But I want to see Malik Hornsby and I want to see Lucas Coley. Because it really does look like for a good chunk of it, Coley has outplayed Malik. Now, Coley was a high 3, Hornsby was a 4. So
I think Coley could be one of those guys that he shows up and everybody's going to be like, where did this guy come from?
And you look at, and I say that, I mean, the greatest quarterback of all time, probably Tom Brady. They didn't have a star rating system back then, because me, you, and Tom Brady are all about the same age. I think I was a 4-star recruit. I'm joking. I was a negative 4-star recruit. But they said Brady would have been a high 3, low 4. And so, and he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Rookie of the year last year, Justin Herbert, 3-star recruit. Trey Flowers, 2-star recruit. So
one of the things that I love, and I've said this on here before, but the thing is, and we've talked about it, you've talked about it, is he gets the ball out quicker than any of the other quarterbacks. And that is a huge thing in football, especially with the spread offenses, that part of your running game is the passing game, is the 3-yard, is the little 3-yard routes or little stop routes out to the receiver, little screen routes or whatever, tunnel screens, things like that. When you're running that kind of offense, you got to get the ball out quick. And not just, it makes your line look better, and it just makes the rhythm of your offense go better. Because a lot of that offense is set on rhythm. And if you hold on to it too long, that's why we're not talking about Michael Vick being the best quarterback ever. Michael Vick probably had more talent, more arm talent, and more athletic talent than anybody. But he held onto the ball way too long. And the plays would break down, and it was freelancing every play. And you cannot do that against top-notch athletes in the SEC or in the pros. And so a guy that just gets the ball out on time, that's why you got guys like the Oklahoma quarterbacks that ended up never doing anything in the pros. But they could get the ball out quick in college, and they were winning lots of games.
And I think that number 2 quarterback at Arkansas is going to be so important because the type of quarterback that KJ Jefferson is, and I think, I really hope, and I hope, like KJ played against LSU, which he got thrown to the wolves against LSU because you're playing the number 1 team in the country, Heisman Trophy winner, and here you are, a true freshman. Hey, it's your second playing time of the year. Good luck, kid. But I think Barry Lunny thought he was the best option on the field. He was behind Starkel and Ben Hicks, and I'm not going to badmouth kids. I've said that before, but Starkel, he just it didn't seem to click at Arkansas for some reason.
It clicked for him at San Jose State where he went.
Yeah, and I'm happy that, no one has more fun at their own expense than Nick Starkel. He calls him the old man of college football. It seems like he's been there forever.
Yeah.
And Ben Hicks, it didn't work. I think he followed Chad Morris, and he probably shouldn't have. He probably should have stayed went somewhere else. I think Ben Hicks was a good. I just don't think. I don't know if Morris was just phoning it. If Morris was just that bad, or if he was phoning it until Chandler Morris got there. I'm not real sure. Either way, I'm happy we got Sam Pittman. But that number 2 quarterback position is so important because KJ got hurt that game against LSU.
Yeah.
KJ, he got hurt against Bama.
Well, KJ's the type of guy. He's got a little bit of that. Coming out of high school, he was compared to Cam Newton.
Yeah.
So he's a bigger bodied running quarterback, whereas Hornsby's more of a fleet of foot, more of a what's his name from Baltimore?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson, yeah. He's more like him. But KJ's going to put his nose in there, and he's going to take some hard hits. And so you're right. The second string quarterback is going to be vital because KJ's going to get his bell rung. He's going to get some kind of little injury that may keep him out a game or two. And that second string is going to have to come in probably and finish out a game or start a game or what have you.
Hold on. Another thing I'm really looking forward to is one of the things I saw in an article, and I'm trying to look up the strength and conditioning coach's name because I'm brain farting on it. Jamil Walker, that Pittman hired him away from Georgia. He was their assistant strength and conditioning coach. And man, and I talk often a lot, me and you talk a lot. I think, as I've grown up, I realized, boy, I blew this, I blew that. That opportunity was there. We had brought in a graduate assistant from Virginia Tech. His name was Eric Flowers. And I'll be honest with you, if I was a head football coach, I would almost want Eric Flowers running my weight room. Now, as a 20-something-year-old kid who thought he knew everything, I did not like him very much. But he's a great strength. And you see the work that Jamil Walker's done. And he's got that because I don't know what Morris was thinking, but he tried to slim all them guys down.
Yeah.
He tried to slim all the offensive linemen down. And you need the 320-pound offensive lineman that can move. Yeah. And so I think that offensive line is built back up where they're averaging 320 across the front now. Yeah. And because when Pittman got there, he's like, we got to get bigger.
Yeah.
And anybody knows anything about SEC offensive line play, it's Sam Pittman. Yeah. And so he's got them guys bigger. So I'm interested to see what kind of I'm hoping they built it the right way. I'm hoping they didn't build it the way me and you build it, which is go to the grocery store and get Little Debbie's.
That's right.
But I think
I was watching Zach Williams press conference. You know, he's a defensive end from Plasky Robinson. You know, and he came into Arkansas weighing 200 pounds. So he was way too skinny for defensive end in the SEC. But he's up to 260 something now. And they asked him, they said, how's your movement? He said, I can't really tell, I'm heavier. And so that's what you want. That's what you want. That's the kind of weight you want to add, that's adding strength also, so that the guys maintain as much. You're going to lose, you get bigger, you're going to lose a little quickness and speed, but to where you lose very minimal.
Right. It's and part of the thing is too is I thought, you know, I'm brain farting on Balima's strength and conditioning coach that went to Michigan.
Bald-headed guy.
I want to say Herbert.
Yeah, it was Herbert. It was Ben Herbert.
Ben Herbert. I kept thinking Justin Herbert, but he had that line and everything had good size. It just seemed, especially towards the end, I'm not sure if, I think it was some bad decisions on Balima's part that cost him, like not doing 2 a days when you can do 2 a days.
I don't think they were adding good weight either. I think they were looking back on it.
They were stronger than that, but maybe it was. But I think you see a lot in Walker. You saw people coming at, when you see other teams coming after your coaches, after your strength and conditioning coach, that means you've got the right guy.
Yeah, and we'll see this spring practice. Look, the spring game, we're not going to see. You know, it's going to be pretty vanilla. They're not going to put a bunch of cool plays out there. They're going to set it up to where the people they want look good.
Yeah.
They're gonna, you know, but I mean, I think we will be able to see, I want to see Rocket Sanders at running back. You know, watch some practice tape of him. Looks good in that number 5. He looks like a running back. He's got real long arms though, like a receiver. So that looks kind of weird almost, but he's going to look good. You know, want to see Trey Knox step up. You know, want to see him. Let's get him back to what he was his freshman year, those first few games. It'll be fun to watch.
Now, I do have a story for you. Have I ever told you about the fall game? We were playing at Tech. We were playing the first team versus the second team. It's first team defense, first team offense on a team, and then all us backups on the other team.
Yeah.
So we were down, I think, 2. And we were driving down the field, and literally the second string was about to beat the first string at Arkansas Tech. Yeah. And then the guy that was playing center snapped the ball over the quarterback's head and caused a turnover. I was that center. I was like, oh man. And the one, like 2 right before that, like Shane Savard caught it like this, because I sent that thing fly, and I was like, you have to go to the sideline, realized I just cost us the game. Like we
only played center a few times, but I had a couple bad snaps in there those few times playing semi-pro, and that's a bad feeling.
And I went and talked to Mullins, you know, about, you know, hey, you know, where am I? What, you know, I think I've earned a little bit of playing time. And he goes, and I'll never forget this, because it was right after this game. He goes, based on what? How many times you can snap the ball over the quarterback's head? I'm like, yeah, man, I don't have a comeback for that. I'm just going to shut up and wish I never walked in here. Walked away. But it was what it was, and he was right. I mean, he couldn't trust me to not snap the ball over the quarterback's head in a prime situation. So you get it now. But yeah, man, that was a gut. That might have been one of the worst feelings in the world. Yeah. Where, you know, you like all these guys that have, you know, we've done what we shouldn't be able to do. And here you go.
Yeah. Well, Clint, it's getting where we need to shut it off. But,
yeah,
you know, this week I want to try something a little different on our future sponsors. I want to see if we can get some reaction from the audience on what those future sponsors need to be. So let's get them to suggest some. We'll come back with some next week, but I want to hear what you think. Who should sponsor our show, and and who should our possible guest be for the future? We've got a shout out to Terry Smith. I have my Jeff Nichols call out, but that's always there. But who do we need to reach out to?
Yeah, and for y'all that haven't seen our podcast with the incomparable Robert Branscombe, we want to remind you about mine and Travis's agreement that if he can lose 100 pounds by the time we go on vacation, May 2022, that I will get this booty sponsored by Hometown Roofing tattooed on my left butt cheek.
On the left cheek.
On the left cheek.
Left cheek.
So, man, how's it going? I know me and you talked the other day and you're making better choices. I told you your face looked a little slimmer. You're like, well, I got a haircut. But it's just looking slimmer, though. So I do think. Yeah,
it's I'm just trying to make better choices. The whole extreme diet thing, it just never has worked for me. And so what I'm trying to do is just make better choices gradually, and not just gradually. I mean, I'm making better choices.
You are
not so gradually.
I've told you I'm proud of you.
Starting to try to get active a little more. I got to get, an exercise routine going. That's the next step. But yeah, man, it's going good. And I think making it public like this has helped. So it kind of keeps me accountable, and having buddies like y'all has helped keep me accountable. So get ready for the ink, man.
I'm ready. But I am going to sweeten the pot, and I'm going to make it better for all you viewers. I did tell Travis about this yesterday. And in no way did I check with Robert before I agreed to this, but I'm putting it on there. So he's got to. So basically, when Travis loses 25 pounds here on the podcast, I'm going to let him pick any romantic scene that he wants. And me and Robert will read it as the guy and the girl. If he wants to get a scene from The Notebook, we will read a scene from The Notebook here on the podcast. If he wants to, 50 first dates, any of your romantic classics.
Yeah, that's going to be disturbing, but awesome.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I stole that from some other radio show, but I'm like, you know what? I know a good idea when I steal it.
That's right. Well, y'all, seriously, thanks for watching and listening. And hit like on Facebook, share it on Facebook. If you like what you're hearing, we're just two average guys. We're not experts, but we want it to be like you and your buddies sitting around talking sports. We want you to be talking back to us and arguing with us and whatever else. On YouTube, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and then let us know what are your ideas for our. We've been doing the whole, impossible possible sponsors and impossible guests. What are your ideas for that? Okay. We've said some fun ones, but what are some that you think? Okay. And we'll go from there. For Bob Ross, Clint.
It's an impossible sponsor that we could never get, but would be hilarious if me and you could do a eugenics commercial. Get Frank Doug Flutie out of there. Put us in it. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, man. Well, have a good week, and God bless, and peace out, y'all.
Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard drive so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I swear when I work, my hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no more till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Oh, I swear when I work, my hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no more till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Sun beating down so hard, I can barely breathe. Hard to sing a joyful song, the words got me on my knees. Then the gentle breeze blows by, pick me up right on time. Listen, now I know the Lord is near, working right by my side. That's why I swear when I work, my hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no more till I hurt, crying your kingdom come. Oh, I swear when I work, my hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no more till I hurt, crying your kingdom come. All right, another day down, the work is done. I wonder what it's all worth. The pain of plowing all this ground, every bone in my body hurts. I pray, Lord, I can sleep in peace, and that should ease my mind. I know the Lord's work never stops, even in the middle of the night. That's why I swear when I work, my hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no heartache when I hurt, crying the kingdom come. Oh, I swear when I work, my hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no heartache when I hurt, crying the kingdom come. Let's take it down. Come on, boys. Sweat, work. Come on now. Filthy dirt. Let's tell them about it. Heartache, hurt, kingdom come. Take it out a little bit more. Come on. Sweat, work, filthy dirt, heartache, hurt, kingdom come. Come on, take it down. Sweat, work. That's right.
Filthy
Come on.
dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come.
You know, sometimes people don't know how hard it is. Tell them about it.